You're listening to the 40 Fit Radio podcast, dedicated to the 40-plus community. Join us as we discuss the truth about fitness and health using science, reason, and the experiences of our host and content experts. Welcome to the 40 Fit Nation.
Howdy, folks. This is Coach Trent. We are about to get into the show, but I just want to let you know that I screwed up the recording today. Yes, I'm supposed to be the audio professional here, but hey, even we make mistakes sometimes. So you're going to notice that my voice is rather low compared to Darren's in today's episode, and unfortunately, there's not much I could do to fix that. So please bear with us. I tried to make it as listenable as I could, and Darren's the real star of the show anyway, so we'll be back to our normal production quality next week. In the meantime, I hope you enjoy the show, and I hope you and everyone out there in the 40 Fit Nation is doing well. All right, let's get into it.
So welcome back to the 40 Fit Radio podcast, and welcome back to the 40 Fit Nation. Coach D's here, Coach Trent's here.
Still negative.
Yep, and
only because I haven't been tested.
I'm still negative too. I am the infection case rate, ICR. I guess that's what it is. Yeah, infection case rate in me is, who knows? Who knows? To be honest with you, I think if we really, this is totally off subject, but I think if we really had the ability to test every single American, I'd just throw it out there. I bet we have millions of people that have been infected with COVID-19.
Oh, yeah. Well, I know for sure that one of my remote clients everyone's experiencing now. I'm sure he had it. All the symptoms line up with what everyone's experiencing now.
Yeah, and I've had several patients, and I've had several patients that got something and did not. When they got tested at the doctor, it was not the flu, it was not strep.
Yeah,
they said, "Oh, this is a really bad virus or cold or something." It could have been COVID-19.
So this is interesting. Our friend Dr. Pewter has been putting out episodes with just kind of catching other physicians up on the studies that have been put out in the last couple of weeks. So really fresh data. And one of the symptoms that is kind of come to the front as indicators of asymptomatic carriers, if you will, they actually do tend to have a symptom, and that's anosmia, which I didn't know that's what it meant. But anosmia is just simply loss of smell or olfactory sense. Huh. And so there's actually a lot of people who have had no other symptoms, no indication of flu or virus, but they have lost their sense of smell. It's a pretty strong indicator that you had it.
Huh.
That Rachel Reynolds had that. No other symptoms, but she did lose her sense of smell.
Yeah, Matt had it. Yeah. Not pretty moderately severe.
Yeah, he got the pneumonia and everything.
Yeah, he'd have an inhaler or something like that, or breathing treatments or something in the home, I think. But Rachel got it, and she had no symptoms but that. Yeah. That's weird.
Yeah, so that's actually, it's kind of interesting. So thanks, Dr. Pewter, for that.
Yeah, well, today we're going to talk about, staying positive, but not for COVID-19. And that's what we're going to talk about today. And because we were sitting here, what do we talk about? I mean, and we've got a lot of topics to talk about, but right now our minds are kind of jumbled. And unfortunately, this kind of stuff, it puts you in a funk. This kind of stuff puts you in a funk. Number one, because you're off your routine. And sometimes that's good because it's pause for thought, pause for contemplation, cause for the ability to be more analytical and more thoughtful about where your life is going, what's going on in your life, the things that you want in your life, the things that you don't want in your life. But what I wanted to talk about today was basically just staying positive, but not for COVID-19. And so I wouldn't say it's an actual checklist. It wasn't something that I wrote down originally, but I did just write it down because I wanted to remember everything. But these are some of the things that I do. And I know it drives my wife, it drives Missy crazy. We have a young lady that's staying with us right now, and she actually did get COVID-19. And she's one of our employees. She got COVID-19. She quarantined at home. And then her roommate, we believe, got it. She took her to hospital last night. She was not doing very well. And so she just decided to stay with us for a while, even though she has probably pretty healthy immunity now to it. But she just decided to stay with us for a while. So she's living upstairs in our house, and we're separate, social distancing still. And she's, she's outside the quarantine period, yada, yada, yada. But I'm sure it drives them crazy because something will come on the news and I'll be like, yeah, well, that's not totally accurate. And here's the reason why. And then I go into this diatribe and they're like, oh my gosh, put a bullet in this guy's head. She's just killing us. Reason is a really important thing to develop. The ability to be analytical, to have reason, to be logical, to be didactic in how we think about things, to go deeper than the surface reality of cause and effect. We call it causalgia in the medical industry. You believe something is caused by something else because what you see, but you really don't know that until you test it.
Right.
Until you test it very, very diligently in a scientific experiment. We also call that, we talk about it all the time, confirmation bias.
Yeah, because if you don't test it, you're going to see causality in your bias.
Right.
If you think that, that this treatment fixes this problem,
right,
but you never test it, you're going to think that it just A leads to B.
Right.
We get but you might actually test that in a controlled setting and say like, well, sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. So it's actually not, you can't, exactly. Causality is really hard to prove. It's a very high burden of proof required.
Well, and there's this in the science world, in testing scientific experiments in medicine, at least, and it exists in other things too, I'm sure. But there's this thing called the Hawthorne effect. And the Hawthorne effect is basically when your subjects know that you want them to respond in a particular manner, they do. So they need to not know what you're expecting of them. And so one of the things that I see in the media is that everyone that's watching the typical media outlets, ABC, CBS, NBC, Fox, CNN, MSNBC, all these different media outlets, and I would kind of group them all together. Some are maybe more fact than fiction. I don't know. Some of them have a liberal spin. Some of them have a conservative spin. I really don't care. It doesn't matter to me. Humans are humans. On whether you're on one end of the pendulum or the other, humans are humans. I like to kind of sit in the middle, and I hate to say that. And I don't mean I'm a fence straddler. I consider some of my views more liberal, and I consider some of my views more conservative. I would say in general, I'm a very conservative, independent thinker.
Yeah.
And I don't want someone else controlling my thought process.
Right.
And the problem is that one of the and here's number one on my list.
Yeah.
Okay. I wouldn't say it's the most important, but I think it could potentially have the most impact on how you think and feel, thinking being intellectual cognitive response, and feel your emotional soul, your the more creative emotional side of your life, okay? Of your brain at least. And that is, number one, limit media exposure. If you want to find out what's going on in the day, find out and turn it off.
Yeah.
Find out and turn it off. And even that, I mean, like the news came on this morning at our house, early this morning at 6 a.m., and the news was saying there's 10,900 cases. I go to the CDC website, which is updated every single day by 4 p.m., and the CDC website said we're right at about 8,900 and some change. Now, it's probably bumped up again, but still, okay, who do you believe? There's a big difference between those two.
Right.
And so also how the information is being presented to you, it's being presented to you not randomly. There's a specific, I believe, and I have a friend that's in that's a FBI agent. He was a physical therapist for years. He became an FBI agent. He's a real interesting character.
That's an interesting transition.
Yeah, he was a business partner of mine, and he always used to say, "Darren, never write off to coincidence what you can explain with conspiracy." Right. But I don't know if I go that deep. But I would just say that people present information to you to get you to think in a certain way.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And it takes a really strong person and an intellectually honest person and someone who's got a very analytical, speculative mind to look at something and say, that's not right, or that's wrong, or, oh, they're wanting me to think this way.
Yeah.
Well, Missy hates it when I think that way and I talk that way. She's like, God, you're so what's the word she used? Cynical,
Yeah, but it's not cynicism at all. Well, all you have to do is just look at the nature of the headlines on all of these websites.
Yeah.
I don't mean the contents of the headline. I mean the nature of
it.
How are they written? What feelings are they trying to evoke? And you see the big, bold letters at the top of the website, and it's X number dead.
Right.
Overnight.
Right.
Cases rise to X number.
Right.
shocking amounts, and then there's usually a quote underneath like such and such official warns of tough times ahead.
Striking fear in the lives of Americans. COVID-19.
It's sort of this, it's these dire, it really looks like some of the headlines from like World War II.
Yeah.
Those historical newspapers you see in documentaries.
Where millions have died, but...
D-Day. And
let's not put this in perspective. Where millions have died.
In fact, right, like one official, I can't remember who it was, compared. He's like, "This is our Pearl Harbor." Maybe was it the Surgeon General?
Yeah, I heard him say that this morning. Actually,
I saw it in a headline, and
I was like, "No, this is not our Pearl Harbor."
Yeah, what?
Yeah, yeah.
So that all you have to do is really look at the nature of the headlines, and that gives you an indicator of what they're trying to evoke from you, and that is 100% an appeal to emotion, to sadness, to outrage.
So number one, limit media content, limit media information,
and it's hard.
Get good quality information. Now here's the thing. Here's the thing too. We are in no way saying that COVID-19 is a good thing. That it's not a bad virus. I'm in medicine. I don't want any loss of life. I don't want any loss of quality of life because of what I do as a doctor of PT. It's important. When I get a patient that walks a little bit better or can move a little bit better or their pain goes down from a 6 to a 3, those are all valued opportunities for me. Those are value opportunities for that person. And so I don't want any loss of quality of life or loss of life. And here comes the but. But I also recognize that there are some things that happen in human culture that we want to be proactive about. We want to respond correctly, and infections are one of those things. And we want to do everything that we can to preserve life. But preserving life means more than just flattening the curve. Preserving life as it is and exists for all of us is much bigger than just the individuals that are losing their lives. And not to devalue that, though, because that is terrible to lose a family member to something like this. So I think there's a balance there. There's definitely a balance between getting the information you need, and if you need it, on a daily basis, whatever you can tolerate. I would say to yourself, to ask yourself, what can you tolerate emotionally and mentally? Right. What can you tolerate? I can tolerate seeing it all day long, but I'm just going to tell you, I'm a relatively strong person. I think you are too, but I'm just going to tell you, it makes me more negative.
And
it's human nature.
My initial sort of reactions to media deteriorate the longer that I watch it. The more that I'm exposed to this constant emotional appeal, the more emotional I start to become. Regardless. And
you're a much more creative person. You're a much more emotional person than I am. And I wouldn't say passionate, because I'm very passionate about things.
He is a passionate man.
Stop it. But you're definitely more creative, and you have a much more emotional.
I am by nature a more intuitive thinker. For sure. And I've noticed that in myself the last 3 or 4 days. Like I look at the news in the morning, and I look at the news in the evening, and I pretty much have to turn it off throughout the day. Right. And there's really,
then go be productive.
And when I do a retrospective, like I didn't miss anything anyway.
Right.
There's nothing I missed.
Right.
I could turn it off for 3 days and I wouldn't miss anything, really. I could turn it off for a week and I really wouldn't miss anything. But I give myself that allowance to satisfy that curiosity, so it's not bugging me. But then I have noticed that if I look at it during the day, it's just garbage.
I think what you're saying here is that you're living purposefully. You're living. It's the same thing we talk about fitness programs. Fitness programs, if it's exercise, it's just kind of random. And exercise random is fine, but it only has so much upside opportunity or upside potential.
Right.
Training is a little different. So what you're saying is you're treating your daily existence right now during the shelter in place orders and the stay-at-home orders and our gym being closed and other businesses being closed. You're treating that as just like you do training. You're being purposeful about what you're doing. You have goals on a daily basis. So let's talk about number 2.
Exactly. Yeah.
So number 2 is I like to make a list. So I make a list on the things I'm going to do that day. But the other thing that I've done is I've made a list of things that are going good. and I've got it on a little steno pad. Trent can see my little steno pad. I carry this out at the ranch all the time because it's what old ranchers and farmers do. They make notes themselves about their livestock and things they got to get and things that are going on. And then I go back and look at this and track diesel fuel use and all that kind of stuff. But I made a list, and I make a list of things I'm going to do that day. And then I also make a list, add to it, of things that are positive so that I don't get overly negative and so that I focus on the real opportunities of that day. Right. So number one, I limit media content. I limit the influences of others. It's very important. I've always said, and this is one of the things I've used to try to drive success in my life. If you want to be successful in life, if the pack's going one way, just turn around and run the other. Right. And that's so true when it comes to business and social and financial and health and wellness. I mean, we know that to be true. And so number two, make a list of what you're going to get done that day and keep it to a measurable, completable list. And then maybe have something on there that you know is going to be a 2 or 3 day or even longer activity that might take you several days to complete so that you can work on that over time.
Right.
And then make that list of things that are positive in your life, that the things that are going good and the things that you're thankful for. Be thankful and make a list.
I'm going to go home and do that because I've been kind of keeping my normal list of to-dos going, but I haven't really been qualifying them as opposed to, like what's going well, what's not. You know, one of the things, for example, that I'm doing, it's kind of fun, is I got an extra couple hours every day to work on some new music.
Yeah, so man. I love your COVID.
Yeah, I'm just playing. I've released a couple of I
love them, man.
Improvised little guitar things. Thank you. But I'm also writing some tracks in the background that I'll release at some point.
Yeah.
But it's just that is really for me that just is really relaxing to me to do that process. But I hadn't really thought about that. That's a positive thing that's going really well.
Right.
And that I think that's going to be good for me. So I'm going to do that when I get home. So.
Yeah, it definitely expands something that you're very talented at anyway that you haven't had a whole lot of time to do. So you see that as a positive. Look at this time that I've got extra in the day that I can work and develop on something that I've really been wanting to do.
Yeah.
The third thing is spend some time in meditation. Spend some time quieting your mind, quieting your soul, whoever your deity is. Spend some time in meditation. Spend some time reading, praying. I read scripture. I also spend some time thinking of others, train to think of others. I have a list of men that I've made, and I was telling Trent he's on my list, and he was like, dang it, I'm glad it's the good list and not the bad list. But I made a list of men that I'm praying for, and it's just a handful of men, and I speak their name daily. I go down, I just speak their name. I speak all their names first, and then after I speak their name, that keeps them in my mind. It keeps me thinking about then I speak over them. I pray over them several different things: provision, protection, guidance, wisdom, all these different traits and character traits. And then I just think about them and their families and their extended families and their jobs and to help them make wise decisions. So I think the other thing is, spend time in meditation. Spend time calming your mind. And in that time, I think a lot of people say, well, hard times draw us closer to our Creator. And I'm not real sure if it actually, let me put it this way. I don't think it's that our Creator is ever far away. I think it's that we wander.
Sure. Yeah.
We wander away from our Creator. And we need to draw ourselves back to what grounds us, what creates our first principles, like we've talked about on this podcast, the things that guide our moral compass, our daily actions. I think we need to spend some time in doing that.
Right.
And so,
along with that meditation thing, this got me thinking, something that I've just unconsciously done over the last couple weeks is when I train, because the barbell is kind of a meditative time for me. That's what's one of my meditative times. Mm-hmm. I also like very hot baths.
Yeah, yeah.
I just sit there and stare at the wall sometimes.
Like your wife taking a bath? Is that a hot bath?
Well, she's bathing me.
That is so awkward. That is so crazy awkward. I'm not even going to go there because that is really, really.
Yeah, but one of the things I've noticed in my training is I haven't been using any music when I train, just silence. I haven't listened to any podcasts, hardly. I normally listen to podcasts all the time when I'm driving to and from the gym. I've listened to almost none. I think one. I just haven't been listening to any music or really just not much stimulation in general. I tried playing some video games. Didn't work. I've just found that lowering my overall stimulation, mental stimulation, has helped.
Yeah.
And it just helps me be a little bit more monk-like throughout the day, for lack of a better term. And that's it. It seems
limiting your inputs helps sometimes.
That's right. And it does keep me focused on the things the positive things, right?
Especially when you feel overwhelmed. Yeah. Limiting your inputs helps.
Absolutely.
I mean, overstimulation, it overstimulates. And so getting too much information. And it also, from a medical and from a physiological standpoint, keeps you at a state of heightened awareness too long. Cortisol levels go up, stress hormones go up, and we need you to relax, folks. Yeah. We need you to relax. And so, all right, so the first thing was we talked about limiting media input. The second thing is developing positive list, and also a list of things to do. The third thing was some meditation time or some quiet time on a daily basis. You can do that alone. You could also do that with your family, too, and do some studying that way, too. The next thing is, the fourth thing would be, and I like this one, keep your routine. One of the things that I really hold on to during times of unrest and times of uncertainty is trying to maintain a routine, a sense of order, a sense of routine. Now, I'm an order person. You know that. I like routine. And so it's just how I'm wired. Some people are not wired like that. But I get up at a certain time every single day. I used to get up crazy early. I don't get up quite so early. I usually get up around 6 now. Sometimes earlier if I've got to be in the office at 7. I'm covering someone. I get up at 5:15, 5:30. But I used to get up at 4:30 every single day for 10 years.
Yeah, that's my routine.
Yeah. And so maintain your routine. Get up as you normally would. Every now and then you can enjoy sleeping in, but get up as you normally would. Get dressed, get your shower, whatever your normal routine is. Put your work clothes on or something that you want to be well presented with, and then get to your list and get to your quiet time and your breakfast and other things. But maintain a sense of routine. Routine's important. Routine keeps us productive, too. It keeps us from being able to stray with our minds way off in a direction where we really don't need to be, too, and get in trouble. And then you might have some time during your day, too, where you say, I'm going to veer from my normal routine here, and I'm just going to watch a movie with the wife or something, or with the kids or something, if you're staying at home, and you're not having to work from home necessarily all day long. But I think that also helps your productivity at your homework.
Right.
Your work that you're doing at home. And that also is the right thing to do for your employer who's trying to continue to pay you as you are at home working. I know we have some in our audience and some of our listeners who have either lost their jobs or they've had their jobs significantly cut back, whether it's their pay, they've gone from full-time to part-time. And for you folks, just try to be as productive as you can. Stay focused on the positive. Do your daily meditation, your daily reading. And also, again, like we talked about, limit that media time. Right. Limit that media exposure. And focus on ideas or something. Take this time to be productive. And that's the next thing, is being productive. We're in a shelter-in-place order in our area. Our clinics are still open, but our gym's not open. So I'm going to work every day. And then on Tuesday afternoons, I go out usually to my ranch. And there's plenty of social distancing there. I check on my cows, feed horses, do all the things I need to do. And then I work all day.
Yeah.
And I love that time, man. It makes me feel productive. It makes me feel like I'm producing something for others too. I love the fact that my cows are still growing. My calves are still growing. That I am eventually going to be putting food on Americans' tables with that crop. And I just love that. That is so empowering to do that. And I've even put it out there with people. If someone wants to come out and you don't have anything to do and you know me closely, reach out to me, private message me, email me, contact me on my cell phone, and set up a time to come out to the ranch. And if you want to bring your family out and play on the ranch and then do some work if you want to, I'd love to have you out. And we will maintain distance. Now, remember, no more than 10 people at a time. And we'll definitely maintain distance. We can be thousands of feet away. But I think that's good for our souls. That's good for us to mentally stay productive and work off those lists, and to also maybe do some of the things we've been wanting to do.
Yeah. I got up this morning. I took a shower. I shaved. I trimmed my beard. I put on a shirt that looks presentable. I didn't have to do any of that stuff.
Your hair looks amazing.
I could have shown. Yeah, I'm trying to mimic Santana.
You got the curl thing going on.
Someday.
I don't have any curls. I got nothing. I'm follicularly challenged.
But that's one thing I've learned just from doing half of my work at home for the last couple of years is that that helps me a lot. Just doing that. I don't have to. I could get up on days that I don't coach. Well, I coach every day now, but days that I didn't in the past.
Right.
I just get up and just do that. And then one thing I learned from our friend Matt Reynolds is just get up early and just knock my work out.
Yeah. Yeah.
And sometimes it's tough for me to get going, especially with creative stuff, because there's kind of this optimal brain sort of point of the day
I agree.
Doing deep creative work is kind of hard to just wake up and do it.
Right.
But there's usually something I can get started with. And then once I get going, it's like, oh, okay, now I feel like doing the rest. And I knock it out.
Right.
And then days like now, these days, where you don't have to go to an office, there's no commute, all that kind of stuff, it's easy to get your stuff done by like 2 o'clock.
Oh, yeah.
1 o'clock, lunchtime maybe.
Yeah.
And it's really nice. That saves a lot of anxiety having all that stuff done in the morning.
Sure.
So that you hit that natural lull in the afternoon after lunch, and you don't have anything else to do. You can just focus on the stuff you want to do. Focus on the family time. And I know that's a lot easier said than done with everybody's schedules that are disrupted. But if you have the space to do that, then I encourage you. You can use the Pomodoro technique.
Yeah.
Barbell Logic, our friends at Barbell Logic have posted about that, but it's a very simple technique. You set a timer for 30 minutes, you sit down to do a task, and you make sure that all of your distractions are cleared out. You can't,
close the door,
lock
got
it.
Kids, right? Pets.
You can have a glass of water next to you, but you're not going to go to the bathroom.
Right.
You're not going to check your phone. You're not going to do no distractions. And you sit down and you work for 30 minutes, and when that timer goes off, you have to take a break. You have to take a break. Take a 5-minute break. Yeah. And then you do another one if you want to. And after that, you might take a little bit longer break. But the point is, like, you do 2 or 3 of these Pomodoros, is what they're called. Right. And you can really get a lot of stuff done. And I find I usually don't do more than a couple at a time. By the time I've gotten through 2 of them, I'm already in this kind of deeper working state, and I just go with the rest of my work. And I just kind of free flow from there.
Yeah. Well, I think, again, being purposeful.
Yeah.
And if not, I mean, I'm the worst about this. When I come home from work in the evenings, if I train, then I don't get home till late. I get home 7:30, 8 o'clock at night. But I'll eat dinner and sit down, and I'll burn an hour or 2 of watching DCI Banks on Netflix or something. I love European sitcoms, or not sitcoms, but European shows and TV shows and other things, But I'll burn time doing that. But that's kind of mindless work. I mean, mindless stuff, But in general, I think if you're not careful, you'll burn through a whole day and not have done anything. And it's good to be productive. It maintains a sense of routine. It maintains a sense of wellness. It's good to get things done. So again, that last thing on my list is being, well, it's not the last thing, but the last major thing is being productive. And the next thing is that I see this as an opportunity for growth. I don't see this as an opportunity for shrinking business, not in my life, even though it is doing that in some compartments of my life. But I see this as an opportunity for growth. That there's opportunities where I can be doing other things and focusing on other things that I normally didn't have time for before, or I didn't make time for. And so I think it's important for us to recognize that our mental mindset towards this really will influence how this shelter-in-place order really affects our daily lives and our quality of life. We want to stay positive, but not for COVID-19. That's the key, And so, so those are the things that I do. That's about it. That's about all I got. I don't know. You got anything else?
No, I think that's good. Everyone's in a different situation right now, and we're all just trying to do the best we can. So along with all of these things, give yourself some grace. Try the best you can to do these things, but it's not going to be practical for everyone.
Yeah.
Everyone's in a different spot and is dealing with different challenges right now. So, give yourself a break too at the same time. Give yourself some grace. You don't have to be perfect right now.
Get outside too.
Yeah,
get outside. You're allowed to go exercise and get outside.
We finally have some sunshine.
I know.
It's
awesome.
So I'm going to enjoy that later.
It's awesome. It's supposed to be 86 today.
Good.
90 tomorrow maybe, and then it'll be back down in the 60s on Thursday. Crazy. Welcome to Texas.
That's right.
But yeah, the thing here is, I'm just going to say one more thing, and I think our generation, this 40-plus generation, can really get this. Gain perspective, guys. Put this into perspective. Go call your mom or dad. If you've got a mom or dad or a grandparent that's way up in their years, and just talk to them about going through the Great Depression. My grandmother and I used to talk about the Great Depression when she was growing up and what they did. And they sold, they had a home in town and they had to move out of their house in town and move into the jail. Her father, my great grandfather, my Papa Smythe, was a sheriff for Uvalde County down in South Texas, and so they had a one room, one bedroom, one other room and bathroom. Basically, it would be like a hand's quarters or a place for an employee to sleep or stay that was monitoring the jail, and it was above the jail. And they moved into that when she was a kid. And there were 3 girls and 2 boys and a mom and a dad. 5, so lots of people.
Yeah.
7 people in that little space. And then eventually they had to move out to the ranch because the economy was so bad. But I think gain some perspective too. Spend some time thinking about prior generations and what they've had to go through. Watch it, and I hate to say this, but watch a World War I, World War II documentary. Don't get too downtrodden by it, but just gain perspective about what other generations have had to go through. I honestly don't believe this is not our Pearl Harbor.
No,
that's a totally different. That is a apples and oranges comparison.
Right.
And this is nothing like the Vietnam War where we lost 60, 70,000 Americans. This is totally different. This is not like World War I, World War II. This is a different type of setting. So I don't want to compare it to anything. I want to compare it to itself. And I think we can be durable. I think we can do this. And I think we just need to stay on top of it mentally and do the things that create a positive mental mindset, but not for COVID-19.
Yeah.
Well, guys, thanks for joining 40 Fit Radio, and thanks for joining the 40 Fit Nation. You can find us at 40 Fit Radio, which is our Instagram. You can go to 40 Fit the 40 Fit Nation on Facebook, info@40fit.com for emails, and Trent is at Marmalade Cream on Instagram, and I'm Dr. Deaton. Man, we love having you guys. We wish you and pray for a safe and healthy rest of the week, and we think about your families. But thanks for joining the 40 Fit Nation.